Okay guys, let's jump to number 10 here. Continuing. So let's plug in these values. We have A equals 12. There's A. Let's plug in a 12. The B is 8. Let's put an 8 right here. And the C is 3. Let's put a 3 right there. So first, I'm going to rewrite this thing without the A, the B, or the C. So there it is. Let's plug in our B value, which is 8, right here. Let's plug in our A value, which is 12, right here. And last but not least, let's take our C value, which is 3, and put it right there with the 7. Now you don't just want to leave it 3. You might make the mistake of thinking of it as 73, which would be incorrect. So you either put a multiplication dot or write that 3 in parentheses so you don't make mistakes. Anyhow, we're going to go with PEMDAS. Parentheses first. 8 take away 12 is negative 4. So 8 take away 12 is negative 4. Let me rewrite everything. And we've already done parentheses. Now we're going to move on to E exponents. So I'm going to go negative 4 squared. That's really saying to take the base, negative 4, and multiply it with itself. So negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. And again, I'm going to rewrite everything else. The 3, I'm going to keep the parentheses there. I could have put a multiplication dot between the 3 and the 16. It's up to you if you want to use parentheses with a multiplication dot. And then we have multiplication, and subtraction. So we're going to multiply, and at the very end subtract. So 3 times 16 is 48. And we have the minus sign. But over here we have 7 times 3, and that's going to be 21. So we really have 48 minus 21, which gives us our final answer, 27. So that's how you evaluate. You just plug it in and simplify using PEMDAS. Number 11, it's not evaluate, but it is the same thing, PEMDAS. Again, starting with parentheses, 17 take away 3 squared. So if we zoom in, there is subtraction in there and exponents. So what do we do first, subtraction or exponents? So yes, we are starting with exponents. We have a 3 squared. Notice that I'm not including the minus signs, just 3 squared. So what do I really have? I have the parentheses. I have 17 take away 9. And of course, let me zoom out and rewrite everything so we don't get confused. Let me bring down everything. So I still have parentheses. So what would I do next? 17 minus 9. And 17 minus 9 is 8. So let me bring down everything again. The parentheses, just to remind myself that I'm multiplying right there. The plus, the 7, the plus, the 8. So I really have 7 plus 2 times 8 is 16. Notice that I did the multiplication before anything else, because that would be our next step on PEMDAS. So we had addition, multiplication, and addition. We're going to multiply first. We get 16. Bring down the 7 plus, bring down the 8. Now we could actually add from left to right, giving us 31 as a final answer. Jumping to number 12. A lot of people get confused with number 12. It is an absolute value equation. This one looks a little different because all of the ones that we had on our homework had the equals a number on this side. So all you got to do is move it over there to this side. Because if I tell you 3 equals x, that means that x equals 3. So the equal sign means that you could switch the values if you want. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the equals 14 over here, so I don't have to worry about it on the left side anymore. So here's my new absolute value equation. Once you have the absolute value equation the way you want it, you're going to do the positive situation and the negative situation. So the positive situation is writing it exactly the way it is without the absolute value sign. And the negative situation is the same exact thing, 4x plus 2, but instead of 14, I want to put a negative 14, because it's the negative situation. Now we're going to solve both, so I'm going to focus in on this equation over here. I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. You're going to get 4x equals 12. My final step would be to divide by 4 to get rid of that multiplication of 4. We do to one side, do to the other, you're going to get x equals 3. And that is one answer, but you need 2 answers for this question. So you go for your negative situation, And you're also going to subtract 2. But over here you have negative 14 now minus 2. So your new equation, the 4x comes down, the equals comes down, you get a negative 16 on the right side. So now for my final step, I need to get rid of that multiplication of 4 by dividing by 4. What I do to one side, I do to the other. The x comes down, that gives us negative 4 as an answer. So you have two answers on number 12, positive 3 and negative 4. You need both to get credit. I believe on the multiple choice answers, they also graph these answers on a number line. So at the positive 3, you have a solid dot there. At the negative 4, you'll have a solid dot there. Let's move on to the next one, number 13. So right here we want to solve. It's just a regular equation. And whenever you solve equations, always check and see if you could simplify the equation first. Remember, simplify means distributive property or combining like terms. On the left side, you just have 187. That's a number. You can't simplify that. It's already simple. Over here on the right side of the equal sign, on the right side, you really do have distributive property. So that's what we begin with. Negative 7 times 9, that's negative 63 with an x. Negative 7 times 4 is negative 28. Let's bring down the equal sign, the 187. And now let's start getting the x value by itself on the right side of the equal sign. So I'm going to get rid of the negative 63 and the minus 28. Which one do I get rid of first? The 28 by adding 28, right? Get rid of the minus 28 by adding 28. That'll be 0. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. And calculator time. We have 187 plus 28 equals 215. So I have 215 equals negative 63x. Final step will be to get rid of that negative 63 that's being multiplied by x. So let me divide by negative 63. Divide by negative 63. And of course, you do this on a calculator. X equals 215 divided by negative 63 on a calculator. You're going to get negative, it's ugly, negative 3.4126. And you know what we're going to do? I think on the multiple choice, on the midterm, they round. So let me round to 3 places. So should I change that 2 to a 3 or do I leave it like that? Switch it, right? You change it. So the 6 is going to make that 2 round up to a 3. So your final answer should be negative 3.413. Now I know you're thinking decimal answers. Yes, there will be some that you just do on the calculator and get the answer. It's a decimal, and that's how it'll be on the multiple choice on the midterm. Let's go on to the next one. Number 14, we have fractions involved. So there's many roads to the same place. You could do this many different ways. One way is to actually move the 1/4 x, subtract 1/4 x, subtract 1/4 x, because you could actually do 3/4 take away 1/4. That'll be 2/4, which is really reducing down to 1/2. But I know a lot of us don't like to deal with fractions, so we could just get rid of the fractions by multiplying everything by the denominator of the fraction that you want to get rid of. So multiplying everything by 4 will get rid of the fraction right from the start, rid of both fractions right from the start. But there is a couple of things that you could decide to do, make it a little easier. For example, if I multiply by 4 here, yeah, it'll cancel, but I need to multiply this by 4, I'm going to get a huge number, and multiply this by 4, I get a huge number. So it's probably easier or best to get rid of the minus 13 by adding 13 and adding 13 and rewriting your equation as 1/4 x equals negative 4 plus 3/4 x. And now you could worry about multiplying everything by the denominator 4. You see, this equation's a lot nicer than the original. Right here we had bigger numbers, right here you have one smaller number. So now let's multiply everything by 4 times 4 times 4. Of course, the 4 on top and the 4 on the bottom cancel out. You're going to have a 1x left over. And then we have the equal sign. We have 4 times negative 4. That's negative 16. And then we have the 4 and the 4 that cancel out. And we have a positive 3x left over. Plus 3x left over. So I still need to solve. I need to get x by itself. It looks like x is by itself, but the truth is you got x's on both sides. So let's get rid of one of them. I need to get rid of that positive 3x. So I want to subtract 3x. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. So I will have negative 2x equals negative 16. I'm almost done. All I need to do is divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. That'll cancel. X equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So x equals 8. Last question. Number 15. So if you want to get rid of the fraction, you multiply everything by 5. The 7 times 5, the 27 times 5, the 4/5 times 5, but you don't mess with the inside. Again, you do not mess with the inside. Why is that? Because whatever you do to this outside guy, that's going to be distributed. It's like if you did it to the inside guys as well. Okay? And again, before getting rid of the fraction, you could easily get rid of the 7 first. Make it a little easier for you by subtracting 7. Subtracting 7. And you get that new equation right there. And now you can multiply both sides by 5. This times 5 and this times 5. Your 5's cancel. You're going to have a negative 4 on the outside of the parentheses. 7a plus 3 equals, on the calculator, negative 170. Then, of course, we could distribute. This is a long one. Negative 4 times 7a is negative 28a. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Equals negative 170. Then you continue solving to get a by itself. So I'm going to add 12 here. Add 12 over here. On a calculator, you get negative 158. Bring down the equal sign. Negative 28a equals negative 158. Final step is to divide by negative 28. Divide by negative 28. A equals 5.642. So I'm going to leave it as 5.64 because the 2 does not change the 4 to a 5. And I think that's how they'll leave it on the midterm.